Have you ever stopped to think that you might be sabotaging your finances without even realizing it? Yes, that's right. As much as you believe you are in control of your money, small habits and daily decisions can be slowly distancing you from the financial freedom you so desire. While many focus on earning more, few realize that the true secret lies in how we use what we already have. And here's an uncomfortable truth. Most people are living a false sense of financial security while sinking into debt and having no real plan for the future. This is more common than you imagine. The scariest part? Many of these traps are invisible. They come from things that seem harmless, like a finance payment, an impulse purchase, or that subtle comparison with others that you don't even notice. What if I told you that changing this is simpler than it seems? Just understand the mistakes, and from today on, make smarter decisions. But hold on, you're not alone in this. Wizards Today, we will expose these traps and show the way for you to take control of your money. Let's get to the point. Comparison trap. How many times have you looked at the neighbor's new car or that luxurious trip posted by a friend on Instagram and felt behind in financial life? This comparison trap is something that traps many people. What many do not realize is that these signs of success we see in others are often an illusion. Behind a new car, there may be a financing debt. Behind that trip, there may be a credit card loaded with interest. The truth is that each person has a unique financial story, with invisible variables such as inheritance, debts, or even sacrifices made to maintain certain appearances. Therefore, comparing yourself to others, without knowing what's happening behind the scenes, is like comparing the script of your movie with someone else's trailer. Many do not take into account that the path to financial freedom is full of individual choices and different priorities. While you are striving to save and invest with discipline, someone may be spending more than they have just to maintain an image. There is no way to know, at least at first glance, if someone's lifestyle was built with financial planning or with a pile of hidden debts. In the United States, for example, the average credit card debt already exceeds $20,000. Not to mention $35,000 in car loans. This is the side that no one shows, but many live it silently. So, instead of comparing yourself to those who seem to be on top, the focus should be on your own journey. And it's worth remembering. The true secret is to live according to your possibilities and not to try to keep up a pace that is not yours. This does not mean that you cannot have your achievements or aspire to a better life, but it means being realistic about how to achieve them. If your goal is to achieve financial freedom, it is more important to focus on building passive income through dividends and smart investments than to spend on consumer goods that depreciate quickly. Think of shares in stable companies that pay regular dividends as a way to ensure a long-term income stream. When you stop comparing yourself, you will see that your silent efforts today can bear fruit in the future. And speaking of the future, this kind of reflection leads us to think about how much social networks distort this reality. If you have already noticed the negative impact that comparison can cause, imagine the power of a network that only displays the best moments. How does this affect our financial perception, and more importantly, how can we avoid falling into this digital trap? This leads us to the next item: social media illusion. If there's one thing that amplifies the comparison trap, it's the power of social media. The Instagram and Facebook feeds are full of photos of people living incredible moments, buying luxury cars, dining at expensive restaurants, and traveling around the world. But have you ever stopped to think that this is only a fraction of reality? Social media is like a showcase where only the best moments are displayed, leaving aside the daily struggles and battles. It's easy to forget that behind a perfect photo, there could be a bank account in the red or a credit card debt that is growing each month. This digital illusion can make many feel bad about their own financial life. Seeing only the highlights of others' lives, it's natural to think that everyone else is prospering except you. But the truth is that almost 56% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings, while many face significant debts with credit cards, car loans, and even student loans that exceed $55,000. In other words, this image of prosperity that appears in the feed might just be a facade, maintained by a finance lifestyle, and not necessarily by real wealth or financial freedom. So, how can you escape this illusion? A good start is to adjust your mindset. Instead of using social media to compare yourself, use it as a source of inspiration, but with a critical eye. Understand that what you see is only part of the story, and that your focus should be on building your own financial journey without getting distracted by others' lives. If you see someone investing, for example, use it as a reminder to review your own financial planning and not as a competition to see who gets there faster. Want to start building your wealth? Consider creating an investment plan with diversified ETFs or stocks of companies that pay dividends. This will help you stay focused on the long term, rather than on immediate pleasures. In the end, understanding that social media shows only a fraction of people's lives is liberating. This understanding can be the first step to taking control of your own financial life and stopping measuring yourself by the unrealistic standards that social networks impose. But there's one more important detail that connects to this. The way we choose to live today, with financial decisions based on the present, can have a direct impact on our future. And that's what we're going to talk about now. Living for now versus future. One of the biggest dilemmas we face when dealing with personal finances is the balance between living in the present and planning for the future. Many people find themselves tempted to spend now and enjoy the moment, which can create a false sense of freedom. After all, who doesn't want to drive a new car, have the latest smartphone version, or travel to that paradisiacal destination? The problem is that many of these choices involve financing, debts, and future financial sacrifices. Buying an expensive car with installments that tighten the budget may seem like a good idea today, but how will it impact your financial freedom in 5, 10, or 20 years? On the other hand, there are those who understand the value of sacrificing in the present to reap rewards in the future. These are the ones who choose to invest instead of spend, seeking to accumulate wealth and build passive income over time. Instead of incurring debts to acquire depreciating assets, they direct their money towards investments that generate returns, such as stocks of companies that pay dividends, real estate funds, and even long-term investments in ETFs. This approach allows them to have more flexibility and perhaps an earlier and more peaceful retirement without relying on the Social Security system. The question here is, are you building a lifestyle that gives you pleasure now but may compromise your future? Or are you willing to give up certain luxuries today to ensure financial freedom later on? It's important to remember that the interest on debts, such as a car loan or a personal loan, doesn't disappear over time. They only increase, eroding your ability to build an emergency fund or make investments that could provide you with a stable passive income in the future. Every dollar spent on depreciating consumer goods is one less dollar that could be generating more money for you. And this discussion leads us to think about the consumption patterns of many people. It's common to see individuals with a reasonable income, but with spending habits that lead them to live on the edge of what they can afford, or even beyond that. These immediate gratification habits silently shape our financial reality, and it's crucial to understand how our daily behaviors affect our finances in the long run. Let's explore this in more detail now. Spending habits. Consumption habits are one of the most determining factors in anyone's financial health. In the United States, it is common to see individuals with comfortable salaries but who live paycheck to paycheck. The reason? Exaggerated spending on items that do not always add long-term value. A clear example of this is the average car payment, which today exceeds $600 per month. And yet, more than half of the American population has less than $1,000 in savings. This shows that despite outward signs of wealth, such as new cars or expensive electronics, many are in a fragile financial situation, without any security in case of an emergency. The problem is not only in the amount spent, but in the mindset that sustains these habits. Buying something new often brings momentary satisfaction, but this can quickly turn into constant worry when bills start to accumulate. Imagine the impact of accumulating $20,000 in credit card debt, $35,000 in car loans, and still $55,000 in student loans. This scenario is not uncommon. And what these people often ignore is that instead of working to accumulate wealth and financial freedom, they're sinking into debt that removes any chance of a comfortable and peaceful retirement. But of course, not everything is lost. One of the first steps to reversing this situation is to reassess spending habits and make intelligent adjustments. A good start can be creating a detailed budget, prioritizing essential expenses and cutting unnecessary spending. And instead of financing that new car or changing your phone every year, how about starting to invest? Choosing stocks of companies that pay dividends or putting part of your income into investment funds may seem like a small step at first, but over time, this turns into a source of passive income that brings more freedom for the future. Changing spending habits is not easy, but it is essential if the goal is to achieve financial freedom. And as we begin to make more conscious decisions, it becomes clear that many of the behaviors we adopt were shaped by a culture of rampant consumption. The next issue to consider is how many finance this lifestyle, using credit and loans that are often invisible to the outside observer. So let's move on to the next item. Borrowing lifestyle. One of the most concerning aspects of modern financial life is how people are financing their lifestyles through debt. It seems that easy credit has become an integral part of how many live. Cars, houses, electronics, and even vacations are bought with money they do not have, but obtained through financing and credit cards. The problem with this is that, contrary to what most people think, these debts are not visible. No one walks around with a tag on their neck showing the outstanding balance of their cards or the interest they pay on loans. Thus, we see many people with an appearance of wealth, but who are actually trapped in an endless cycle of indebtedness. Many fall into this trap, believing that paying later is an intelligent way to achieve what they desire now. However, the reality is that this lending mentality can quickly turn into an unsustainable burden. Think of the example of someone who finances a new car for $600 a month, but also has credit card debts totaling $15,000 and is still paying off a student loan. This accumulation of debts creates a snowball effect, where each month more interest is added, and the payment of installments consumes a significant portion of income, making any long-term financial planning difficult. The question that many do not ask themselves is it worth compromising the future for a finance lifestyle? The answer depends on each person's goals. Those who understand the importance of investing, saving, and living within their means can create a more stable future and eventually achieve the long-desired financial freedom. Those who continue to finance every aspect of their lives often find themselves in a vicious cycle, where all incoming money already has a set destination: paying debts. This lifestyle ends up preventing the creation of an emergency fund, making investments, and ultimately can delay or even make retirement unfeasible. To break this cycle, it is essential to adopt a different approach based on conscious financial planning. This means adjusting the lifestyle to what can actually be afforded, avoiding unnecessary loans, and focusing on building wealth. A practical tip? Start seeking alternatives to replace finance consumption with saving and investment strategies. A good option is to set monthly savings goals and, instead of acquiring goods via credit, opt for investments that offer passive income. Now, another question arises: how to avoid the feeling of financial inadequacy and focus on your own growth without being shaken by what others have or seem to have? This is what we will address next. Continuous self-improvement. One of the most powerful secrets to achieving financial freedom lies in the ability to focus on your own progress, instead of measuring your success by what others have. This may seem simple, but in a society where we are constantly exposed to what others are doing, buying, or accomplishing, this task becomes challenging. The key here is self-reflection. Instead of comparing yourself to others, compare yourself to who you were yesterday. The true measure of success is how much you have been able to improve your own situation over time. Perhaps a few months ago, you were buried in debt, and now you are taking the first steps to get out of that situation. This type of growth is what truly matters. The path to continuous improvement begins with small habit changes. It can be something as simple as reviewing your budget monthly or committing to invest a percentage of your income. Every small step counts, and it is this consistency that will take you further. Think about how you can improve your relationship with money over time. How about starting with a realistic goal, like saving 10% of your salary every month? Or perhaps investing in personal finance books such as Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki or The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. These small acts of self-development can make all the difference in your journey. Another important point is that comparing yourself to others does not take into account individual circumstances and opportunities. Each person has a different journey with unique ups and downs. Perhaps that friend you admire was lucky enough to receive an inheritance or a significant salary increase. Meanwhile, you might be struggling to pay off debts and build your wealth from scratch. By focusing on your own progress, you free yourself from others' expectations and concentrate your energy on something much more productive, your growth. And over time, this focus on continuous improvement will transform your relationship with money, helping to create a path toward financial independence. In the end, the pursuit of self-improvement does not mean ignoring the world around you, but rather understanding that every victory, no matter how small, is a step toward your financial freedom. The journey is individual, and what matters is that you are moving forward. And one thing is certain: the more you invest in your own development, the more equipped you will be to handle the challenges that financial life brings. But, as we have discussed before, all this effort must be supported by a well-structured financial plan, which will be your guide to long-term success. Now that you have had the chance to reflect on the risks of comparison, the illusion of social media, and the dangers of living on the financial edge, the big question is, what will be your next step? Will you continue to be stuck in old habits, or finally start paving the way for a healthier financial life? The truth is that to achieve financial freedom, it is not necessary to make an immediate revolution, but rather small, consistent changes. It may be that the first step is to reorganize your budget, cut that unnecessary expense that goes unnoticed, or even start exploring investments that generate passive income, such as dividends. The important thing is to act now, because time can be your greatest ally or your biggest enemy. What will you choose? And most importantly, how do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? The same person or someone with good planning, ready to enjoy life without financial worries? It's time to act, to turn this knowledge into practice. And don't forget, wizards, this journey is constant. To keep learning and ensuring that you are on the right path, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. This way, you will stay updated on more tips and strategies to achieve the long-desired financial freedom. The future starts now.